Hello, today I'm going to give a brief overview of the administration and scoring of the Apraxia battery for adults, 2nd edition. The ABA2 was designed to verify the presence of apraxia in adult patients and to estimate the severity of the disorder. In addition, the vocabulary and conceptual structure of the 6 subtests allows administration of the battery to adolescents and children down to about age 9. The ABA2 consists of the examiner's manual here and a profile examiner record form and a picture book. The assessment contains 6 subtests, and those are following. The subtest 1 is diodo-cokinetic rate. Subtest 2 is increasing word length. Subtest 3 is limb and oral apraxia. Subtest 4 is latency, time, and utterance time for polysyllabic words. Test 5 is repeated trials. Subtest 6 is inventory of articulation characteristics of apraxia. The ABA2 can be delivered in approximately 20 minutes, but this can also depend on the client. It can take considerably more time to deliver all 6 subtests, so keep that in mind. So now I'm going to go ahead and go through the form, the examiner form. Let's see here. So the examiner form, as you can see here, has all the identifying information for the client on the front. You're going to, put the identifying information, history in terms of medical history, and then you have, this is where you're going to be inputting your scores for results of the assessment. So in terms of administration, we have a couple different sections here. So the subtest 1 here, the diodo-cokinetic rate, that would be, pa, ta, ka, and patika, 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 patika. What you're going to do is give the instructions. I want you to say some sounds and say as many as you can, as fast as you can. Say pa. And so then the client should go pa, 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 pa. And you're going to do the same for pa, ta, ka, patika, and pa, ra, ka. And then for subtest 2, we have increasing word length. And so what you're going to do with this is instruct the client to repeat what you say. There's going to be different levels of complexity for the word. So like, for example, thick, thicken, thickening. What you would do would have the client repeat after you, thick, and then repeat thickening, thicken, and then thickening. And you'll go down through the list of words here, and then on the next page as well, the list of words continues down the page. Okay, so then for subtest 3, the limb apraxia and oral apraxia, what you're going to do is give instructions to your client, and you'd say, I'd like you to show me how you do some things. Listen carefully. Show me how you, and then what you'll do is you will say, like, make a fist, and so you'll want, the client should make a fist or wave goodbye. So you'll basically give the prompt to the client, and the client should show you the appropriate response. And then same thing with oral apraxia, stick out your tongue, whistle, puff out your cheeks, things like that. Okay. And then next we have subtest 4, which is latency time and utterance time for polysyllabic words. You're going to need a stopwatch for this, and also plates 1 through 10 in the picture book. And so you'll say to them, I'm going to show you some pictures, and I'd like you to tell me the names of the things you see. Say the names as soon as you see the picture. So in here we have, first one would be picture of a telephone. And so you basically want to score, you can see that here, score how long it takes them to actually produce the word, and then the utterance time is how long it actually takes during the actual process of saying the word. So latency would be how long does it get them to initiate the word, And then utterance time would be how long does it take to actually fully get the word out. Or you can also mark if they were unable to produce the word. And then subtest 5, repeated trials. You're going to need a tape recorder for this, so make sure you have that on hand. You will say, I'm going to say some words. I'll say each word one time, and then I want you to say it 3 times. And then you'll say the word telephone, for example. Again, you are wanting them to repeat you, so you'll say a word. You have your word list here. So if you say telephone, they should, and you have 3 different trials. In each trial, they're going to say it 3 times. So they'll say telephone, 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 and you'll go down through the list here and mark whether or not they, if there was, in trial 1, if there was 3 productions and they got 2 of them correct, you'd put a 2. So the next we have is subtest 6, which is inventory of articulation characteristics of apraxia. So you will actually need a tape recorder and then action picture plate 11 and the grandfather passage, which you may or may not have heard of, but that is on. So this is the action picture here. You can see that. That is the action picture, and then the grandfather passage is on page 12. There. So what you'll do is spontaneous speech. You'll show the client the action picture page and say, "Tell me about what's happening in this picture." And so they'll sit and look at it and describe what is happening. And then as for the reading section, you'll say, "Read the story aloud." Then you give them the grandfather passage. And then for automatic speech, you'll say, "Count to 30." And then now count backwards from 30. And this is basically to assess their automatic responses, things like counting and ABCs, things like that. So another thing I'm going to talk about is scoring of the assessment. So I'll just take you section by section and show you how that's done. So for subtest 1, the diedo-cokinetic rate, what you're going to do is add up the examinee's responses, and you write the number of correct responses in the corresponding column for each trial, and then enter the score of the highest of the 3 trials in the best trial column, which is this one, and then add the scores from the best trial columns and enter it in the sum in the total box. And then for subtest 2, there's part A and then part B. And part B, you're only going to use if for a person who did not score in the moderate or severe impairment part for part A. So this is just more for mild to moderate, I believe. So what you're going to do here, this is like thicken, thickening, and what you'll do here is put the examinee's response with 0 to 2, 0 being no response or unintelligible, and 2 would be correct without hesitation or struggle. So you put a 0, 1, or a 2 in each of the columns, and then you'll add up the columns here. You'll actually subtract column 3 from column 1, and that will give you your deterioration in performance score, or your raw score, basically. So again, don't score the deterioration in performance score for individuals who scored the moderate or severe impairment for parts A if you're moving on to B. And then subtest 3, which is limopraxia and oral apraxia. It's going to be a rating scale of 0 to 5, with 0 being examinee is unable to perform the correct gesture even after demonstration, and 5 would be examinee gives an accurate, prompt, complete, and readable gesture. And so over here, you're basically going to list your 0 to 5, and then also let's show you here. There's also a place here where you can put if they have a searching behavior, so maybe that they're trying to find to be able to say the word, and so you'll just put a check mark there if you notice any of those behaviors. And then the next one is subtest 4, latency time and utterance time for polysyllabic words. And so for scoring this, you're going to record the number of seconds 0 through 10 in each of the two columns, rounded to the nearest whole second. So, and you'll transfer only the utterance time score to section 3 on page 1 of the examiner record form. So, okay, and then subtest 5, repeated trials. What you're going to do here, the person is going to repeat a word after you 3 times, and what you'll do here is you'll transcribe the word that the person says in 3 different times, and record how many errors per trial. And then what you'll do is you'll compare trial 3 to trial 1, and you'll write that here, and you'll put a plus if there was an improvement from trial 1 to trial 3, and a minus if there was a decrease in improvement, or you can put a 0 if there was no change. And so then what you'll do is for variability score, you count through a number of pluses and minus marks recorded. For example, if you recorded 2 pluses and 3 minuses, then the variability would be 5. So you'd put the variability score here. So, and then you actually will also count the number of words with errors, not the number of errors total, but the number of words. So say even if there were, for the word elephant, if there was 3 errors, you'd still just count elephant as 1 errored word. So you'd write that here. And then so adding these up together will create your raw score. And finally, for subtest 6, inventory of articulation characteristics of apraxia. What you're doing here is 3 separate activities. You have your spontaneous speech, reading, and automatic speech. And you're looking for different characteristics within their speech, such as exhibits phonemic voicing errors, exhibits phonemic vowel errors, things like that. And you'll be putting a 1 if it's present and 0 if it's absent. You'll be putting it in the appropriate column. So spontaneous speech column, reading column, and automatic speech column. And you can also put a check mark here under behavior observed, noted elsewhere. If during spontaneous speech, if you're just talking and you're not actually in the task, you can actually put a check here as well to make note of that. And then you'll just also mark a 1 if present and 0 if not in your overall. And basically, the more checks that are recorded in the grid overall, the more certain you can be that the examinee is apraxic. So yeah, all right. Well, that's an overview of the scoring. And what you'll do actually here on the front is you will list the raw scores here, and the according level of impairment you'll see for test 1, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4, and 5. You'll see the corresponding numbers, and you'll put the level of impairment here. So none, mild, moderate, or severe. And you'll actually plot that here on this graph. And in the manual, they actually have some profiles. It gives you a way to interpret some of what some of the profiles that you might be seeing. For example, like a mild or moderate, and more, moderate to severe. So there's a lot of great information in the manual that can help you get more information about whether something is typical or atypical, and the level of impairment and what that looks like for your client. So, okay, well, that is a quick overview of the ABA, the Apraxia Battery for Adults 2nd Edition. I encourage you to go and take a look at it for yourself and fully read through the manual. It has a lot of great information, and good luck on your administration of the test.